ready?
Yeah, it would have been fun.
All right.
Heavy Trump, sorry.
Oh, for sure. All right, we'll call the work session to order. Roll call, please.
Calhoun.
Here.
Dempsey. Here. Fournier.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
McGarity. Rick.
Here.
York.
We believe that Commissioner Yor is just running a few minutes late, but I will entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner McGarity, even though it's work session, and we'll just do it anyway.
Move to excuse Commissioner Gary.
Support.
All right. All those in favor? Well,
Aye.
should we call it? Are we okay with a roll call? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. All right, this is the portion of the meeting that we invite the public to address the commission. All that we ask is that you come to the microphone, you give us your full name, residential address, and you abide by our 3-minute rule. If you would like to address the commission at this time, you're more than welcome to come to the microphone. Okay, seeing none, we will move to city business. Mr. Shipman, we have the city income tax presentation first, and I'll hand it to you.
You know, I think we're going to switch that and do the building assessment first, because Brian and Danielle are going to stay for the regular meeting, duration of the regular meeting. So
All right.
we can do that.
Sounds
It's a
good.
work session.
Sure.
So as the commission knows, I'd said that we were getting a building assessment done on City Hall and the fire department, basically to go through the buildings and see what the needs were and what it would take to refurbish, rehabilitate these buildings, especially versus, what that cost should be for the OU building. So Chad Everts is here from Fishback. Maria Sedke is here from Fishback. Maria is actually here supporting Chad, but she's going to be here for the regular meeting as well for another agenda item. So before you, I gave you the hard copy packet of the presentation, as well as it's on the screen behind you. So Chad, I will turn it over to you and take it away.
So would you like me just kind of quickly zip through it?
Can we have you use the microphone though? Then it will feed into for the camera.
Is that all right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yep,
all right,
yep.
So it's up on the screen behind you as well. And Greg, did you end up getting them copies?
I just got them copies, yes.
So, just like Greg said, we walked around both buildings inside and out about 2 weeks ago, and kind of took some notes and took a bunch of pictures about what we saw. Kind of overall in general, City Hall is pretty tired. It's a beautiful building, or it was at one time, but it is pretty wore out. The fire station is better, but not particularly great. So I'll just kind of run through. I've got some pictures with some notes with them, but the entrance off Crocker Road, you can see the concrete. There's rust. The reinforcing that holds the concrete together is exposed in quite a few locations. The concrete is a trip hazard. The sidewalks around it are heaving. They replaced some of them, but there's still it's in pretty rough shape there. The entrance right there, I thought they said it's closed to the public.
That's correct.
Yeah, it's sort of, the door was sort of like stick shut, and that glass, the aluminum doors that are there, that is all pretty thin single pane glass, and it's not very thermally efficient by today's standards. It's just pretty tired and wore out. Kind of the same thing at the main entrance off the parking lot. The same thing. You can see the rust stains. The concrete is spalled out, exposing the reinforcing behind, which is all rusting. And that door does have an ADA ramp and the electric door openers, but the whole thing is pretty wore out there. Going to the roof, same thing. The roof is wore out. It's ready to be replaced. There's been recent patching done to it to keep it from actively leaking, but the roof is wore out. There's some roof drains up there that are regularly clogged. There's not a lot of drainage on the roof, they call it a flat roof, but it's actually mildly sloped to drains, but there isn't enough drainage to clear the water fast enough. So you got, little grasses and weeds and stuff growing up there, just from the trees overhanging and dropping sticks and whatnot on them. So, yeah, so that's kind of that one. The air handlers that are up on the roof are very wore out. And that's sort of a theme throughout this report. The HVAC system, it doesn't keep up. It runs, but it doesn't keep up. The day we were here, it was pretty hot and muggy. This room was very hot and muggy to the point where the walls were kind of sweating, which is not great. And that's sort of throughout the whole building like that, where the air is on. I think most of the thermostats were set at 50 degrees. It was 70, high 70s, I would say, in there, and quite humid. So the system is not able to meet the set points. Staying on the building envelope, the foundations, there's sort of a back stairway or a areaway that looks like it's falling off the building. You can see from these pictures that's a gap. That's 3-4 inch gap. So something's settling there and falling off. The glass, just sort of in general, the aluminum glass in kind of the that's sort of like a stone looking panel. That is single pane glass. That's very inefficient thermally. Those windows fog up. Like on the day we were there, when it's really humid out, they get humidity on the inside, which causes kind of a mold issue that has to be constantly addressed. People are constantly wiping it down so that mold doesn't, really grow. Yeah, it's time for those to be replaced. Kind of one of the other things we noticed in this particular corner, I'm looking at the picture on the upper right there. That area is very flat, almost to the point where it's draining back into the building. I mean, it doesn't, but if you get a hard rain, I think it ponds up, and then water kind of has the opportunity to go right under those windows into the building. They've had some issues with that in the past. Just kind of more pictures. You can see if you can look, the picture on the right now, the grass is right up to the bottom of the windows, so any water is able to zip right into the building that way. Jumping to the interior, this building was built before ADA or accessibility was a thing, and the doors, particularly at the bathrooms, the doors are quite narrow by today's standards, and the main bathrooms are not ADA compliant at all. There is one bathroom that, like you can see on the right there, that has grab bars and a wider door. So that's a good thing, but the rest of the bathrooms do not meet today's standards. They noted that there's a fair amount of issues with the drains as well. One of the bathrooms, the one right down in the lobby, they've saw cut the floor up to try to repair drains, and it seems like the sanitary system has breaks somewhere in it where you're not getting flow through them like you should anymore. It's another picture of the ADA bathroom. That the sink does not meet ADA, I don't think. The picture on the right now is the elevator. Again, it's old and pretty wore out. It doesn't meet modern standards, and I think it's a pretty big maintenance issue ongoing here, is what I heard. So Um, that's the elevator. Jump to the interior some more. Asbestos abatement. There's signs throughout the building of asbestos. The picture on the left, the tiles. Anytime you see 9-inch by 9-inch tiles, those are virtually guaranteed to have asbestos in them. Those are scattered around, visible. I thought I heard that they're carpeted over in other places. So there's a lot of them here still. They just haven't been removed yet. Same thing with some of the old plumbing and HVAC pipe insulation. Those, they're not hurting anybody now, but they should be removed and taken care of. Yeah, kind of touched on this already. The picture on the left, there's quite a bit of evidence of water coming in underneath the window system. It's never a good thing. And the drawings, the old drawings, the original drawings, called out those. So if you're looking at the picture on the left, the below the windows, that panel that's there, drawings say that those are asbestos. So those should be abated at some point too. Then the last thing is those big safes, the big vault doors that are around. Those usually are made out of asbestos inside of them. That's how they keep the fire from going through them. So a fair amount of asbestos to be abated in here. And then kind of just touched on this already, but the HVAC system, the electrical, the plumbing are all very, very wore out. I mean, they've done what they can to keep them running, but there's not a lot that's really working the way it should. The fin tube heaters around are in real rough shape. Kind of in general, the lighting is outdated. It could be replaced with LEDs. The plumbing system, same thing. There's a lot of sanitary drains that are backing up and require cleaning. Bathrooms should be rebuilt, which is going to take a lot of saw cutting of the floors. And then the other thing is this building is not fire protected. We do no sprinkler system in this building. So if you were to do updates, you would probably be required to get that. Okay. There's just some pictures of the HVAC system downstairs and up on the roof, the fin tubes. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions on any of this so far? That's pretty much it for City Hall here. Does anybody questions, comments? Okay. No surprises, yeah. All right. Jumping to the fire station. I should have looked, but the fire station is 20-ish years newer. And it's about what it looks like. It's well taken care of. It, kind of looks like fire stations, what I'm used to seeing out of fire stations. They keep it really clean. Seems to be, it's working, but I'll run through some of its issues too. It's hard to see in this picture, but the apparatus bay door on the far right, the one that has the white garage door, over top of it, there's these panels. The whole top has these panels over it, and there's holes in that panel. You can see into the building where that panel has failed. Just kind of that chunk of the building where those panels are is really struggling in general all the way around. This picture shows it a little bit better on the left. You can see the holes. It's kind of delaminating, falling apart. So the holes. Walking around the building, the brick. the brick looks pretty good. What doesn't look so great is the lintels over the windows. The picture on the right is up on the low roof looking, but those lintels are quite rusted, to the point where they're starting to sort of disintegrate. So structurally, that's not a good thing. The picture on the left, how it's brick and then glass and then brick, those little details where it goes in and out, those architectural details require a lot of caulk and a lot of upkeep and maintenance they're starting to fail. Yeah, there's a better picture of the lintel. You can see how rusted that is. But this picture lower right, it just sort of looks like brick and metal coming together. There's lots of caulk required to hold that detail together and make it. It's just sort of like architecturally, it looked great 50 years ago when the building went up, but it's not a great detail for weatherproofing over time, and it's pretty wore out at this point. The entrance, this is kind of the same thing. The storefront glass there, that's kind of single pane glass, pretty wore out. The bigger issue we saw there was the concrete is settling. There's a pretty good trip hazard. I don't know what that is. It's like 2 inches or something, 1.5 inches. It's a pretty big drop there. The white soffit, you see on the picture on the right, kind of the overhead, the white, that's cracking and showing some signs of delaminating as well. There's a metal panel that wraps around a column. It's held together with looks like pipe clamps right now. That's 2 pieces of metal that are supposed to click together, but they're trying to fall apart. They're being held together with some clamps. And you can sort of see in the picture on the right, there's like caulking that needs to be done and things like that. That there's a lot of rust and things happening from that. Up on the roof looked like it was pretty good. I thought I heard that it had been replaced somewhat recently, and it looked like it. It looks okay. As far as like the foundations go, we didn't really see anything. There's not a lot of it exposed on this building. So I think, the bones, the structure is in pretty good shape on this. But again, like I said earlier, the lintels at the brick, there's some corrosion happening there that are, it's going to take some work to get addressed. Kind of this, just walking around the site. Oh, there it is. It's 1.5 inches. It's not 2 inches. So a pretty significant, drop there of sinking concrete. It looked like there's some sections of concrete that have already been repaired there, but there's some more that are, needing to be addressed there. Just kind of more photos of that concrete. On the interior, same story as City Hall. There is not decent ADA accessibility. The doors are quite narrow. The restrooms don't have the stall space or the grab bars for wheelchair access. There's no elevator there, so the entire second floor is sort of inaccessible. And then the back stairway, we noted, did I get a picture of it? Yep. The back stairway, one of the stairs is just broken. They put red tape on it so you didn't trip, but the stairs broken. We should get that fixed. Again, same as City Hall, the interior. Has a decent amount of asbestos that you could, or asbestos tile that you can see. I think they abated some of theirs already. They had remodeled some of those spaces, but this is in the IT closet or the phone room closet. You can see the 9-inch by 9-inch tiles are there. So there's still some in there, and I think there's some pipes. I'm not sure if I caught a picture of it, but there's some pipe insulation that looked like it probably is asbestos as well. This building also, it doesn't have vaults, but it had fire doors that likely has those asbestos in it too. Yep. There's a couple, those fire rated doors usually have it inside of them. And there's some pipes that insulation likely has asbestos in it. Getting to the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. This building has some like smaller air conditioning units in different spots, kind of their group areas. They run like full tilt, like it was cold, and I'm not sure if it was the chief I was talking to or not, but somebody said you can be hot or you can be cold, but you can't be comfortable. So and it was like where they sleep was like perfect for sleeping. I mean, it had to be 60 degrees in there. It was just full tilt on. No thermostats. It's just on off. But most of the equipment, it's working there, but it's a lot of it's beyond its life. I think there's a newer water heater in there that looked fairly recent. So that's there. But in like City Hall, there's no fire protection system there, and that sort of makes me chuckle because it's a fire department. But they have a fire department, so they have a hose. Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's some pictures of the the furnace room or boiler room there. There's a sump pump and air compressors and things like that. That's what the electrical service looks like. It's pretty old. There is a generator. I don't know when that was installed, but that is much newer and looks to be in very good condition still. That's sort of the end of the report. We kind of took what we saw. I was there with our estimator, so we kind of took what we saw and we took sort of our engineer's estimate to come up with what we think it will roughly cost to restore this building and improve it. These numbers are a lot like those hurricane trackers you see on TV where it's like, this is the price we give you. It could go this way or this way, but this is a good guess at where it'll be. Fishbeck designs a lot of buildings like city halls and fire stations. So this is probably where it would be if we designed it. It's a real good, first step based on a couple hours spent inside the building. So we're at roughly 15 million for City Hall, and then it was roughly 7.8 million for the fire station.
What do we have? I mean, did you replace all the windows? Did you? Yeah, that's good. So kind of what we figured is all new windows all the way around, new roof, so the new front doors, a decent amount of site work to redo like the ramp and the stairs out back to make all of that new again. It would be an entirely new HVAC system. A good chunk of the electrical system would get replaced. We'd have to do an entirely new fire protection system. We'd have to run in a pipe, water main from the road, because you have a domestic water line, but you don't have a fire protection line. I'm not sure what else. Entirely new interiors, so all new carpet, all new ceilings, all new lighting, paint on the walls.
Plumbing system,
What's that?
new sewer, or
New plumbing. We figured cutting up most of the floor to get rid of at least the mains. When you do the bathrooms, that's going to take up more space because the ADA stalls take up more space, and so the bathrooms will probably grow a little bit, and then everything else has to shift as a result of that. And yeah.
Doesn't sound like there's much in this building that's salvageable. It's not like you're using what's here at all.
Like the structure. Yeah.
Which is also has walls separating.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Commissioner Dempsey.
So what would be the cost of demoing this building and building a new building, but a smaller size building? Because we don't need this much space.
Yeah. I don't have that available.
Okay.
In your experience, would you think it'd be
More or less than
comparable,
15
less,
million.
more? We're not going to hold you to it.
Okay, fair enough. Then,
You're just an expert.
It's hard to say because the site, you would have, if we tore this building down and built it on the same site, you'd already have the property, and then it would be easier. But land costs make things go, they changed a lot. But I mean, in general, it would be easier to build a new building. So I would say it would be cheaper to build a new one if you had a green field somewhere that we could start from.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what I usually think, is that it's more cost efficient to tear something down and start over than to try and replace a worn out something.
Yeah.
That could
Then
be-
you wouldn't have to demo anything then. You'd save all of that. But you'd have to buy land. So it's sort of.
Well, if you demo this building,
Yeah.
she's saying.
Well, I'm saying
Yeah.
demoing this building and rebuilding on, rebuild.
Yeah. It would probably be better, be less expensive.
Maybe 10, 12 million, maybe, 10.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna,
I'm not an estimator.
I know.
But so
I'm just trying to get it
No,
in my
no.
head that I would think it'd be a
My-
lot cheaper.
I'm just gut feel, probably ish.
That's what I was thinking.
In that range. Yeah.
Yeah, we did have a price that we got from partners to do the fire station and city hall would be 25 million.
Yeah.
So if you just cut that in half, I guess. Any idea what it would cost to demo this with all the asbestos remediation and all the other things?
I think what he had. He didn't break it down.
If you wanted just to completely remove this building from this site.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not our estimator. I don't.
Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We can get the answer.
I can get back to you on that. Yep.
'Cause that could potentially be something that has to be done.
Well, I mean, when I look at this building, I can't see putting a dime into it, whether I'm a developer or us. So it's got to be removed by somebody. And if we're looking at removing this and building another building, we need to know what that cost is. But I imagine it's not cheap. You start getting with, I know what Jim went through with asbestos removal over at Victory, and it was almost as much as the demo. So.
Yeah, abatement's expensive for sure.
Remember the estimate for demolishing, what is it, Wilson Gym over there? In the bond proposal was $1 million, and that's a much simpler building, I think, because it's just a box
Wilson Gym?
Yeah.
$1 million for that?
to demolish it.
Oh. Wow.
I know
I don't know how much asbestos
the water
is in there.
plant's a little different, but it's about 2.5.
That's bigger.
And it's bigger, but they're including all of the copper and things they can pull out of it. That thing's loaded with precious metals that they gave us a credit for, and it's still
Yeah.
2.5 million. So
I've demoed a few buildings. A water plant is significantly harder to demolish because there's so much reinforced concrete inside of them.
Yeah,
But
it's
they
definitely,
do have a lot of wire and copper.
Yeah, well, they've got that. I mean, because it's good too. It's from 1929.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it's pure.
Right, it's a good catch.
Yeah.
So, remind me, we were 12 million with the move and the build on over there,
It was about 13.
about 13
Yeah.
with the fire stage,
That's everything.
everything.
That was
And that
everything.
was the
That's
good, like the
I mean,
primo
yeah.
design, I thought.
That's new furniture, right? That's
oh, I didn't know if it
Turn-
included
yeah.
everything inside.
that's
Turnkey,
right?
12 million.
No,
No, it was about
it was
13. It was
yeah.
12 to 14.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah.
so-
5 to 14 something. It's kind of.
Yeah.
It was range, yeah.
And they said it would be about 25 million to build that building brand new if you had a piece of property somewhere. Now, something that
But you don't need that big a building. You wouldn't build that big a building.
well, if you did police and fire in one, it was 25
Well, yeah, but I
million.
mean, for City Hall, you wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I'm just using that as an example. That building, the way they showed it to us built out, if you wanted to build that same scenario that they showed us somewhere else, it's 25 million.
Oh, it makes sense with the, I mean, with the fire department and.
And so, something I didn't ask you, but I did ask partners because they're going through this in a couple other communities. I said, well, let's just say we did want to renovate these two buildings, we've got to relocate. I said, I know you're going through that. Can you give me a cost? They said, yeah, we absolutely can. It's about $400,000 to relocate both buildings if you wanted to renovate both. To relocate
So
everybody
if
for
you
the
tear it
duration.
down too, you would need to relocate for a
Right.
Yeah.
certain time frame.
Yeah, because they're looking at it in a few other communities to do that, either build a new one, and they're looking at, just like you said, some buildings have the bones, right, where you can go in and refurb them, some don't. And it looks like the one, it was, he said it when he was here, it was New Baltimore, that they were thinking of doing a refurb, and it's got city offices and the fire department. It would be about $400,000 to relocate all of the fire department and city office personnel until construction was done. So I mean, that's something else we got to think about too.
Right.
A lot of good info.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any
A lot of
questions?
money.
A lot of money.
Whatever way you go.
Yep.
There's no cheap way out of this.
No, but it definitely is, I mean, not that anyone's surprised at the condition of the building, because if you hang out here for a little bit, you see it every day. But when it's all compiled into a nice packet, it looks even worse.
Sorry.
So thank you. I
Yeah,
know.
for the fire department, I know you kind of covered in there, but the apparatus floors, you know, because I know that's such heavy reinforced concrete and they're cracking bad, and then the drains are bad. And the drains are rusting to where they don't want to drain, and it's getting in there all under concrete floor. Was that part of the?
You know, I don't
Estimate
think
for
it
that,
was.
or-
We didn't spend much time in the apparatus bay. We just sort of
Okay.
kept moving. You know, I didn't even look at the floor, honestly. I looked at overhead and around on the walls, but not
Yeah.
all the equipment was in there, so I didn't poke underneath it. So, yeah, the
'Cause
floor
we've
would
been
be.
kind of patching those drains up, and it was some crazy number of like $50,000 a drain to have them completely cut it out, bore it out, redo the piping. Then they put in, now they use it's some kind of a almost plastic drain they use nowadays instead of, all the metal. But
Do they have to, I mean, obviously those have to be reinforced with, extra thick concrete, right? Because of
I think
the,
it's 10-inch minimum.
right.
Yeah, and there's concrete under the drains too. You set the drain, pour concrete around it, let it dry, and then pour around it to get it up to grade. Those are pretty elaborate, and they're very heavy duty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's, that was my fear, is that one day those drains weren't going to drain because they've been slow, and we keep getting them. But it's all, it's all cast iron pipe.
Oh yeah,
It's been in there since.
there is the
67.
sand trap, right?
There's sand traps, but what had happened is they we couldn't get the grates out for years. And
Oh,
we couldn't
that's
afford to have somebody come in and saw cut them all out. So we couldn't pull the traps to
We
get
did
the-
fix that, right?
Yeah, we did.
We did
about
fix that.
4 years ago. We got
I
we
remember
we
something
saw
about
cut
the
those
drains.
back where we could at least get down into the drains and clean those sand traps out.
Yep.
Right, well. You all look.
I don't think anybody's surprised.
Thank you for the information.
Okay. All
No
right.
surprises.
So if anybody, if no one else has any further questions, then we will move on to our next presentation, which would be the city income tax presentation. Mr. Shipman.
Yeah, so we had a request. Been a lot of talk. It comes and goes, I guess, about city income tax. It was about 10 years ago. We did a presentation, and actually Plant Moran did that presentation. We found it, so it seemed like a logical choice to go back to them and have them look at it and see if anything's changed in the last 10 years and update that information and come here tonight and present that to you. So we've got Brian Cammiller, and everybody knows Brian and Danielle are here with us. So I will turn it over to you.
There we go.
Well, good evening. So the city income tax idea is really good as an idea. You know, you've got people that are working in the city that aren't paying property taxes. They don't live here. You've got renters who live here and get service, but aren't necessarily paying their share of that as well. So an income tax has worked out in many cities. If you look at the list of them, they fall into a couple different buckets. Clearly Detroit, obviously. But then there's the group of older urban areas where the taxable values were nowhere near able to keep up with the needs of a city. You've got college towns where that makes perfect sense. You've got thousands of people that are working every day, in East Lansing or wherever, and aren't necessarily paying for the infrastructure. But it's really hard to get one of these passed if it makes sense. And you have to do a lot more research to get into that. So we put together this slide deck. We wanted you to think through some of these issues before going any further if you want to, or perhaps you don't. But there would be a substantial lift to get from where we are today to where we would need to be in order to get it onto a ballot and then educate everyone, your voting public, as to how this would work and would it be a good idea or not. So let's go through that. Just what is a city income tax? It's paying a portion of, just like paying the state, just like paying the federal government. You work here, you're going to pay a portion of your taxes here, whether you live here or not. It is allowed in the amended Constitution. In order to do this, requires voter approval. There are 24 current cities. As I mentioned, there's the older industrial urban areas, like here, Detroit, Flint, Lansing, Pontiac, but then also the college towns that would have them. There's half a dozen or so of them. There's some very surprising communities. There's a couple up north that are nowhere that you would think would do it. I don't know what the stories are for those. But other than East Lansing, however many years ago that was, there hasn't been another one passed in a very long time. There is a cap as to how much you can do. It's usually split this way, 1% for residents and businesses, 0.5% for the non-residents. The idea being, well, non-residents are here using our infrastructure, using our services, but they're only here 8 or 10 hours a day versus somebody that might be here 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so those folks would pay less. There are a couple cities where it is a higher number. Detroit is 2% for residents and businesses, 1% for non-residents, but that was specially written into the law for them specifically. And I think there's one other community that falls under that. It's based off of an individual's taxable income, very similar to how you pay your state and federal taxes now. There is an exemption. There are other ways to make adjustments for various groups of people. But also, if you are, let's say you live here and you work in Detroit, you're not going to pay the same percentage on the same amount of income. It would be apportioned. So you would pay some here and some in Detroit so that you are not double taxed. So if it were to be passed, if you got all the way to that point, there are setup costs. You are not equipped at this present time. It's not like, well, we already collect property taxes. We'll just flip another switch and we'll start collecting income tax. It's a completely different system. And so there would be quite a bit on the front end. Those other cities that have them, they have full departments or at least 2 additional employees to operate it once it's up and running. There are various softwares costs. Also, there'd be an audit component that you'd have to take care of. It is possible to outsource to another community that's already doing it or to the state, but they'd have to be willing to take you on as a customer. They may or may not have the capacity to do so, but there would certainly be a cost of paying them to do it if we were unwilling or unable to do it ourselves here in the city. So in order to get it to the ballot, you'd have to go through your normal ordinance and referendum process. It would have to be, there'd be a petition where you'd have to get 10% of the signatures from the last election for people to say, yes, this is something we want to vote on. There would be enforcement issues because, believe it or not, people don't want to pay additional income taxes. And there would be the legal component of having to track down and figure out who should be paying. So that's not quite as easy as looking at a map and seeing where every single parcel is. There are multiple people working in buildings. There are multiple renters in a building. And there is a transient nature that they might be here today, gone tomorrow, might be back again. So it's tough to nail a lot of those folks down. As far as the use of money, that's the best part, is that it is unrestricted. So it's not like we can't take water and sewer money to pay for public safety. If we have a dedicated millage, it's to a very defined, narrow use. This would be similar to your general operating millage. The city can do whatever it wants with that money. If you wanted to put parameters in that to help sell the millage to the public, you could certainly say, well, this is going to go towards services X, Y, and Z. That would be fine. That would be, but that would happen on the front end, and it would be very difficult to change direction later on if you wanted to repurpose that for a different reason. So some of the pros, more money is a good thing, right? We're always talking about what we can and can't afford, and the can't affords do tend to be greater than the affords these days. So there is, that portion is great. Also, the diversification, so don't put all your eggs in one basket, is the saying. And for most cities in Michigan, your basket is property taxes and state shared revenue. State shared revenue is always a fun topic every year as the state budget comes out. So, so far, the discussion in Lansing, the governor and the Senate were both in favor of an increase. The House is in favor of a decrease. So now they have to all get together and reconcile. And what's going to happen, I'm not going to make a guess. I have no idea. But this would be something that would be under your control, that would not be subject to the whims of Lansing. It would be yours to deal with. The equity aspect, like I said, there are people that live here but don't pay for the services. There are people that work here that don't pay for the services. And so the people that do live here, some could argue that they're paying an unfair share, that the renters and the people that work here should cover part of it. And that is a fine way of thinking about it. Growth potential, there is no limit, like your property taxes. Your property taxes are capped at the lesser of 5% or inflation. But if you had Google put up a building in the middle of Mount Clemens and you had 2,000 people working there, they will all pay. There's no limit to it. Your only limit is how many workers you can fit into the city. There could be a possible, and I put possibly in bold and underlined it, because this would be let me back up. It's possible, if you had a new revenue source, that it could offset or partially offset an existing revenue source, such as property taxes. However, until the numbers were actually figured out, and the income tax, trying to figure out what that income tax would be, that is not a simple accounting task. So I wouldn't want to start the conversation on the front end of this would be great, we could cut our property taxes, because that is nowhere near 100% certainty. Nowhere near. The income tax might just be the additional revenue that we need on top of our existing sources to provide the services that you are currently providing that become more and more expensive every year. So it would be a discussion point at a later date, but it should not be the reason why you go through with looking into this further.
Have other cities done that? Reduce their property taxes by initiating?
I think East Lansing did, but I wasn't part of that, so I don't know for sure. But there haven't been, there's only been East Lansing in like the last 20 years, so it would not be an apples to apples comparison if somebody did it in 1985. So now the cons, the administrative burden. You're not currently equipped to handle this. It would be an additional overhead to the city of running this program. On the business impact, hard to say whether someone would relocate their business out of the city if this were to go in. And it's hard to say if someone would avoid putting their new business in your city if this were to go in. But it's certainly a factor if you're, lopping off 1% of your revenue right off the top for a new business. A lot of margins are very, very thin, and that could be the difference between making money or losing money. Resident pushback, certainly, it would take a great educational effort to convince a majority of the voters in the city that this is what the city needs. And then the compliance challenges I mentioned, people don't like to pay taxes. And so if they don't have to, if you haven't caught them, they're not necessarily going to volunteer to have some of their revenue paid to you. So there is a compliance problem. I know, I won't mention who, one of the cities in Wayne County that has it. They had a great revenue increase a couple years ago because they really went after the non-payers. But it was a process to do that. Now, they should have been doing it all along, but it was tough to figure out who actually should be paying and then collecting from them. It's two different issues, and both are difficult. So if you want to go further with this, these are some of the things that you need to consider. It does require a vote. It would take a lot to educate the public on this. It would be great if we can offset some kind of cost. However, or certain exemptions could be put in for veterans, or we'd have to go into that further with writing an ordinance toward that. But this is not the make or break decision as to whether or not you do it. I would strongly suggest, if you do want to pursue this, that you conduct a feasibility study. There are other plant moran departments that have done this previously. We did one for Kalamazoo several years ago. Kalamazoo voted against it, but we can do it, and I'm sure there are other consulting firms as well that would be able to do it, but you really need to figure out how much revenue is actually out there to get. And the education process has to start now before you even take any other steps. It will be a constant process from the point you decide you're going to look into it further until it eventually goes to a vote.
If you can't offer some offset to residents, I don't know how on earth they'd ever vote for it. I mean, if you're saying that we really shouldn't reduce property, I mean, I think that's the normal thing you would think of, right? If you have an income tax, you're spreading it around the people that don't live here, but it's an offset to property taxes.
Well, yes, that would be the strategy. But then the question is, how much money do I make and how much do I pay in property taxes? The answer is not going to be the same for everyone. There will be some that, even if you're trying to hold everyone harmless, there would be some people that would actually be hurt more than they would be now.
Right, but if you can't even say or estimate or something what the reduction in property taxes, I can't.
Well, by the time you get, when you're halfway down the track, that's when you'd start talking about that. But you'd have to figure out first, is it even financially feasible?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I mean, this is something we'd figure out if we got to that point. But the question I have for it is, how many people actually live and work here, right? Because that makes a big difference. It doesn't affect the majority of people. There aren't that many people who actually live and work in Mount Clemens. There are some, but
The ones that work here that don't, those are the ones that we're gonna have to pay.
right. Well, no,
Well, everyone will, no matter what. If you
Everybody pays.
right. Yes. Yeah. They don't ask by it, right? Then the second thing was some employees who work downtown already have to pay for parking passes and other things, and so that being added on is something that, is a consideration.
I think it would cost us quite a bit of money just to get it up and looking at it to see if this is a benefit or not. Because, I mean, you have to do an awful lot of, calculating, like you said, income versus property tax. And we would have to do all that before we'd even go to the voters.
Oh, yes.
So that would cost significantly, I would think.
Just that feasibility study,
Yes.
I think, would be in the realm of $25,000 to $50,000.
Yeah.
Oh,
I was going to say,
and our average income is not that high.
no.
But the average income for employees here is noticeably higher than the median income of residents.
Some.
I think we're talking about the county,
Well, not just.
county average. That's the only number I know.
Well, the hospitals he's thinking of, I'm
But
sure.
Do we know that?
Is that what you're thinking?
For sure.
The hospital?
Among others, yeah. I mean,
Do you know those ones? I don't know those
Not
stats.
off the top of my head,
Yeah, I mean,
but I know our median income is well below the county average. So if they live in the county,
it's 40, it's
reasonable
gotten up.
chance.
But
Yes.
there's a way businesses can get around that, because I had to pay in Detroit when I worked. But what they did then, when St. John's took over, they took all the payroll and moved it out to another city. So we didn't have to pay any longer because it was coming, we were all listed in another city as employees. So the hospital could take and go to Flint if Flint didn't have or whatever they're,
If they've got half their building in Clinton Township anyways, they could just,
well, they got, no, we still have most of the hospital.
And I think that's changed now. You have to get proof that you spend most of your time working.
Right, and that's what it was, I
So,
mean, in our
I
case
work
it
in
was.
Macomb County, so I don't pay Henry Ford City Detroit
Right.
tax. But it doesn't matter where their business office is. You have to show proof of
Where
where
you're
you spend the
working.
majority of your time working.
Yeah, the last year before COVID, back when we were on site every day, I had to pay Detroit, Flint, and Pontiac taxes, but it offset some of what I paid elsewhere. So
Right.
it, it still didn't feel great.
Yeah,
One thought I had, and I just looked it up, it's doesn't work, but the out-of-city residents can't be charged more than 50% of what the city residents are. You had on one of your earlier slides, it said, it showed the rates for.
I'm sorry, did I have it backwards?
Yeah, right, so you couldn't propose a ballot question where we're gonna charge residents $1 and non-residents $2 or 1%, 2%. It can't, it flips. It's got, the people that don't live here
pay less.
pay less.
Yeah, pay half.
Yeah,
Right.
it's too bad that there's not some discretion here, but it's pretty clear.
Right. The residents would pay
The
more.
businesses, if it makes it more difficult to attract businesses or keep businesses, we rely on that a lot in this small town. Well, that concerns me.
yeah, for me, if we are not able to offset a meaningful amount of property taxes, both for our residents and our businesses, because the businesses have to pay the extra. So if we can't offset that through property taxes, I don't see this as viable. But if we can,
If we can't offset it through income tax.
right.
Well, and the whole point is to make more money.
Right, I mean, why do it
So
if
if
you're
it's
just
if it's
shifting?
yeah, if it's a net nothing.
Well, if
a-
it's a net nothing to our bottom line, but our residents have a lower property tax burden.
Some will,
That can be
some
our
won't.
goal here, because our residents are significantly overburdened compared to, half our land doesn't pay property taxes, so there is a big imbalance there. And with me looking at this, getting after that somewhat is what I see the goal as, not generating additional revenue beyond what we're already generating, but getting at that equity piece of who's paying the taxes for everything the city does. That's where I'm at on it.
No, I agree with you. That's what I'm trying to say. If we can't lead with that there's at least we'd stay even, or
Yeah.
we really need to, why would we do it if we can't give the residents something back?
Right.
Because that's the biggest complaint, right? That we pay high property taxes and 50% doesn't pay.
It's gonna cost so much more to operate that. If I remember from 10 years ago, that was a high number. Just to operate that, to be able to collect it, to set up everything you have to set up, and the people you have to hire and to enforce it. The cost just goes away then. Any kind of profit, not profit, but any kind of net increase is going, because now you have to pay more to have it done.
10 years ago, you all did a full study, or it was just very?
No, we did a full study. Well, you guys were on the board.
No,
No, you weren't there? You weren't either?
that was
Thought
right
you were-
before.
Just before? But yeah, they did
I think it
I
was 2015.
think they did a complete.
Sure, lots of change, but it'd be interesting to see that, just to know
It's a
where
lot
you
of
were at
work.
back then.
To see the full study. I think that, Greg, they did find a copy of the full study, right?
Yeah, whatever, it was 2014.
Paper or
Last one you did.
electronic?
It was paper.
Paper.
Yeah, nobody can find the electronic, right?
It's on a floppy disk.
You mind?
Yeah, exactly.
But you did find the person that did it. He was actually still employed.
Yeah, yes. The person that did it is who I would tap on the shoulder if you wanted to go
Yeah.
further on it.
Maybe just.
It would all be new information. It wouldn't be
Oh, that's what I would.
just update it.
Start there.
So I don't want to rush anybody, but it's time to start our close this meeting and start our other one. We can continue this discussion if we want to continue the discussion further. if we want to do that, we can amend the agenda for our next meeting and add it to, after our announcement section.
Can we just revisit this
But we can-
at another
we can
time?
also direct
I mean,
the
I don't think it's
administration.
something that you have to make a decision tonight.
I think what we should do is direct administration to get us that paper copy and then have some further discussion.
Right.
I agree.
say.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The
somebody,
presentation was so helpful though.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
it
really had
was.
no idea.
yeah, that was
Gives us
a
an
good amount
idea.
of information, so thank you, Brian.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Danielle.
Real.
All right, we will move on to item 4C, discussion of city business, which I'm gonna ask that we,
Nothing else.
okay? And any commissioner comments? Okay, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn the work session.
Move to adjourn the work session.
Okay. Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we'll adjourn the work session.